Lawrence's head accelerates towards the turf and then stops abruptly, and that's where the injury happens. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Dr. Stephen Wilson, and here on this channel, we analyze the mechanisms of sports injuries. So if that's the type of content that interests you, then please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. Sunday afternoon, the Jags are home to the Texans. Trevor Lawrence, the Jags quarterback, is scrambling on the play. He's the ball carrier. We're going to watch the play through twice here on two different views, and then we'll analyze the mechanism of what actually happened on the play. So this is the first view. You can see his head making contact with the turf. And then the second view coming up here, this gives us a really good view of exactly what happened as his head makes contact with the ground. So we're going to look at this one a little bit more closely. So we see Lawrence, the ball carrier, number 16 here. He's got the ball in his right hand. He's advancing down the field, and then he's going to go down. He's in the slide position. We can see his right leg, his right knee, and his thigh starting to make contact with the turf here. And then in comes Texans defender Azeez El-Shaair. He leads with his left forearm. He makes contact with Lawrence kind of on the in the shoulder and the upper chest area, and then into his neck, and that forces his head down to make contact with the turf. So in that position there, even though he's not making direct contact with the upper part of Lawrence's head, it does create a bit of a whipping, or even in a motor vehicle accident, we call this a ramping effect, where contact is made more so into the torso and the neck, and then accelerates the head down to make contact. Right there, Trevor Lawrence's head is accelerating towards the turf, but then when it hits the turf, it's that sudden deceleration. That is the problem. The sudden deceleration right there with contact. In this position, his brain is still traveling down towards the ground, but his skull stopped abruptly when making contact with the turf. But of course, his brain is still traveling towards the ground, and it's going to bump up inside his skull. It's going to bump on the inside of the bones there. It's that impact of the soft tissue of his brain making contact with the inside of his skull. That's what sets off the cascade of events that then leads to a concussion. Lawrence was ruled out on the play and ruled out of the game. He was taken off on a cart because of that deceleration right there of his head making impact with the turf. The acceleration after the contact from Azeez El-Shaair's left forearm, and the deceleration into the turf. That's what causes the concussion for Trevor Lawrence. We're going to take a look at the anatomy screen so we can appreciate structurally what's going on here. So when we look at the skeleton here, of course, we see the shoulder blade in the upper torso area, the neck, the jaw, and the mandible of the skeleton. And then we can see the brain of the skeleton floating inside the skull in that bath of cerebral spinal fluid. It's not actually fixated to the inside of the skull bones. It is suspended in fluid there, so it can move a little bit. So when Trevor Lawrence was running down the field as the ball carrier and he went into his slide position, Azeez El-Shaair made contact up in his upper torso, his neck, his jaw area. So that force came in from this area, forcing his head back towards the turf, and then the impact on the back of his head down on the turf. We can see how the brain of Trevor Lawrence's brain here, suspended in that bath of cerebral spinal fluid, would then make contact with the inside back part of the skull bones. It's that impact, the depolarization of all the electrical units, of all the nerve cells in his brain, setting off the events of a concussion. Trevor Lawrence was ruled out of the game with a head injury and will enter the concussion protocol. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your time. Please take care.